Vijay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me, Mike. How are you?
Well, it's great and great to have you back as well, too. You're an author, seasoned money manager, finance expert, and CIO of the Real Point Capital, 20 years experience in capital markets. You've been featured on numerous outlets, and we did talk about Baby's first business book, a bit about real estate and some of the business ventures and everything else. But right now, we're going to talk about these things, which is important as well. What happened in Baltimore, which people went on strike and more. And before getting all that, Vijay, once again, very quickly, how'd you get started?
How did I get started? I got
Yes.
started with, I think like most people, wanting to better my life, wanting to solve the problems that I felt that I had. So early on in life, I felt I didn't have enough money. I didn't understand it. I felt that the happiest people understood it, had a lot of it. And I wanted to learn about the history, learn about the plumbing within financial markets. So I studied it in college, grad school. I started working professionally as a broker, a financial advisor. I moved up to chief investment officer at a firm. I was working with a lot of the best private equity and hedge fund companies in America. And I realized that you could do this with less zeros. So that's when I decided to get like-minded investors together to start Regal Point Capital. And so we buy, we build, we invest, and we spread the dividends. And now I want to spread more than dividends. I want to spread knowledge, know-how, and encouragement, motivation.
Mm-hmm. And also led you to writing a book, Baby's First Business Book, the best way to start for children.
Well, I think that financial literacy is really important. It could solve or prevent, I should say, a lot of problems that people face. But the school system is doing a terrible job in that regard. And I know they have a lot on their plate, but this is something that I feel like I could do to make business less intimidating, because it is intimidating for a lot of people, but it need not be.
Now we're getting to the most important stuff, which was the port strike that happened. You heard on the news, affecting holiday sales possibly, and of course before that, the ship that just hit the bridge, causing all kinds of activities around the port in Baltimore. So it is important news. And how effectively and why is it important? They say.
Well, I appreciate the pun. Ports are a underrated economic source. And when you source so many goods and services through only a handful or two handfuls throughout your country, all it takes is a mishap at one or two major ones to cause a significant effect. Now, of course, these things were big news. They no longer are. I think what is bigger news is the fact that business is exploding. Business optimism is exploding. M&A is going to explode. Stock market is exploding. And what we need to do is tame one thing, and that's inflation. So I think that's going to be the biggest mystery, is how long does it take in order to tame inflation? But I think that the new administration is going to probably start by solving the fiscal side of it with the DOGE, right? So I think Elon and Vivek are about to sweep some waste away. And I'm kind of excited to see what they're able to find, because we're going to have more transparency in terms of how the government wastes our money than we ever have in the history of our country.
Countless ways. I got to say that. I was watching something on Fox News. I was running a state football tournament that there's a watchdog out there that, hey, there's a lot in wasteful spending. What was it like? Study of monkeys, studies on kittens, studies on gerbils. And I think the one biggest thing that stuck out was the vacant buildings owned by the government. These federal vacant buildings that just been sitting there for years and nothing's been done about it.
And
that's a waste.
It is a waste. And when you think about, if you ask yourself, well, wait, why would they do that? Well, here's why. There's no incentive for them to do anything about it. If somebody owns it, an owner has an incentive. That incentive is a profit motive. So profit has become a dirty word, and that is destroying entrepreneurialism, right? It's destroying that business spirit, which kind of helped America get to where it is right now. And so we need to not think of profits as a dirty word. And we especially should not assume that just because somebody has a nonprofit that they're an angel. They're not an angel. They're just not paying any taxes. So they're just begging people for money. A nonprofit is not necessarily a good idea.
Really? How so?
Well, what benefit do you if you study the books of a nonprofit, what you will find, most of the money is not going to the people that they intend it to. It goes to the people that work at the nonprofit. And
Mm-hmm.
what benefit does the taxpayer get? Zero, because they don't pay any taxes.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I was reading a disturbing study about the CEO of was it ASPA? It's that pet rescue that a very small portion of it is actually going towards the cause and going towards him, his employees, caring for the expenses and everything else, and that's what's going to. And I found that disturbing. Say it's supposed to go to the pets. No, it's going to him and his cronies.
Typically, the ratio is something like less than a fifth would go to the quote unquote intended beneficiary. About 40% will go to the people that work there, and then another 40% to marketing to pay for the donations that go again to the people that work there, and then more marketing, and then a quarter for the poor kids.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Gas
just
or whatever they are. Yeah.
yeah, gas and everything else. And of course, you see a lot of it as well too. And of course, with business booming and everything else, a good reason to encourage entrepreneurship because they say with the job, what was it the unemployment rate? They say it's low, but a lot of people have stopped looking for work is because they feel that they've been discriminated, ageism, everything else, and or simply a lot of jobs have gone to AI or simply just cut back. And right now, it's like people over 60 are wanting to work, but they seem to get denied for whatever reason.
Mike, you made a few good points, but let's talk first about the official numbers in the labor market. So, yes, the headline numbers look good because it seems like we have a fully employed society. But the reason why the unemployment rate is so low, second jobs, side hustles, are what they call it. And they need that, right? Because inflation is so high. Most of the new jobs are part-time or federal jobs. If you look at full-time jobs that are from small business, you're seeing a decline. And so it's rosy on the headline level, but when you dig deeper, you realize that it's not that great.
Mm-hmm. Right, and certainly indeed too. And of course, we're coming up on holiday season,
I think I
and then
froze
they're
up on
only
you. Did I freeze up on you?
yeah, for a little bit, but we're good to go when it comes to audio. And I just wanted to say too the fact that we're in the holiday season right now. You hear ads all over radio, TV, print, internet, anything you can imagine, even the mail is saying, "Hey, we're hiring, we're hiring." It's like now it's just like you don't hear all that much about it.
I think everything is being done online via social media, mobile, or your network. And again, a lot of these networks are also online. But there is a good, let's look at the glass half full. I think it's never been easier for someone who's motivated to learn. How can I become an expert? How can I share my expertise? Whether it's YouTube or a podcast or writing a blog, there are so many avenues that are out there. If you're a professional, let's say that you are a professional and you've been laid off. There are sites like Skillshare, which will allow you to create a customized class because, of course, there are other people that need to learn what you are able to teach. And so I really encourage people, please do whether it's a Google search or ask ChatGPT, or even ask some young people that you trust that are smart, right? If you don't have people that are in every demographic close to you whether personally or professionally, you're missing out. You really are, because man, things change that fast, right? So whether it is a colleague or a nephew or a niece or a neighbor, um, find someone or hire someone or reach out to someone. Remember how they used to say that? Reach out
I
and touch someone.
remember by phone, AT&T, reach out and touch somebody. I remember that. I miss those days. Yeah.
If you reach out and touch someone now, you'll get canceled. So I don't recommend any of our listeners
Or sued, sent to the DOJ, go to prison, whatever else, and then you'll
right.
get splattered all over social media and leave a permanent mark forever and ever.
That's right. That's right. People forget that. Once it's on there, it's on there.
Mm-hmm. And that's the sad part too. That's also affecting the job market and people getting jobs. One small blemish, it's almost like nobody's giving employers second chances anymore these days.
You know what? That is a really good point. But you know what I'm hoping, Mike? I'm hoping that starting next year, and then hopefully for the foreseeable few years, if not more after that, it will become more of a merit-based society. And so people won't be worried about your private parts or how much pigment you have. And instead, they will look at you as a person that can contribute something professionally or personally. And I think that that's what made this country what it is. And I really hope that people don't give up and assume that next year will be like last year. I rarely make promises, but I'm going to make this promise. Next year is going to be better than last year.
Mm-hmm. In
Or
terms of
this year or the one before.
right, yeah. And what's the outlook for you for 2025?
Well, I think I think that a lot of people are going to make decisions that they've been sitting on, follow through with goals that they did not think were achievable, invest money that has been earning a low rate of return. And I think everybody's going to do their small part to make America great again, man. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Certainly did as well too. And speaking of investments, what should they invest in? Besides gold, silver, copper, precious metals, or anything like that. What should people really invest in, and why?
Well, I think that precious metals are a good place to store value, but stock markets are the best place to really gain and beat inflation. But of course, that comes with volatility, just like commodities. But I think that within your commodity exposure, you need to have a little bit of crypto. If we know anything, the new administration is going to be friendly towards cryptocurrency. So, we are not selling any of our Bitcoin anytime soon. We also like Ethereum, but we love stocks. And within the stock market, what do you see? You see software is eating the world, right? And so that's a quote from Mark Andreessen. But if you look around you, you're seeing it happen. And therefore, if you think that technology is risky, I would argue that staying away from technology might be more risky.
Really? How's that?
Well, if you look at all the returns or most of the returns in the stock market recently, out of the 500 companies, seven out of 500 are doing the heavy lifting. Mag 7, right? So, and even prior to that, if you look at just the NASDAQ returns versus the Dow Jones, I mean, it's not even close. So software is eating the world. Airbnb is a newer company, but we've heard of it, and we know that we could get a place to stay. But Marriott is much more prestigious, right?
Mm-hmm.
What makes more money, Airbnb or Marriott?
I would say
Airbnb
most.
makes way more money than Marriott.
Right, yeah,
Isn't that
because Airbnb is more of a small entity and there's not a lot of overhead. Marriott, you've got a massive overhead and it got like thousands of hotels, trying to cover every single expense possible, even the rising costs, electricity, water, or with the staff and everything like that. And of course, trying to find help where it's like, where it's just like, Portland started the whole trend of new minimum wage, $15 an hour. You think you make more money. Well, guess what? The businesses start jacking up their expenses, jacking up their price, and the people making $15 an hour are still acting like or living like $7, $8 an hour.
Mike? Most of the properties that Marriott owns They don't own. They just manage it. Manage it. They take a royalty. The owners, like my fund and like my investors, we are the ones that have to pay for the labor. We are the ones that have to pay for the growing electricity, not Marriott. Marriott just collects their royalty because we have to use their reservation system.
Mhm.
Airbnb has a superior business model. Now, I'm not anti-Marriott. We're probably going to build one soon here in Orlando. Come to Orlando,
Or
please.
or or stay at one to take the families. Like you never know. So just be careful what
Well,
to say about them.
well, I mean, look, I mean, here's the thing. All I can do is say the truth, and that's why sometimes I have to interrupt my friends like you if I feel like maybe the audience might feel like, oh, well, wait, did that is that what they are trying to say? And just because I didn't want you to lead the audience to think that Marriott is suffering from something uh, that they're really not. I mean, if you're paying for energy, then it's within their own office building. Or the small percentage of the portfolio that they still are holding on to. And if they're holding on to it, trust me, there's a reason why. It's probably in the most prime location.
Hmm. And what are some of the stocks to look for, and what are some of the stocks to avoid in 2025?
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball, and my legal counsel has told me not to give any investment advice. But the thing that I would advise is look at where you spend your money. Are you buying Nikes? Are you spending money at Amazon? Where are your subscriptions? Are you watching HBO? Are you watching ESPN? If you follow where your money is going, then you are more likely to find the companies that you can believe in for the long term. And I think that advice has served a lot of people well, even before I got into the business.
Hmm. And certainly as well too that it's one of the things like say we're on a Zoom call. It's like we're supporting Zoom, or if you have one of the Blue Yeti mics, you're supporting that, or if you're wearing one of
Exactly.
the hats you bought, you're supporting that, or the computers you buy, you're supporting that as well.
Right. So it starts with where did your money already go? But you don't stop there, right? So that it's like chess. So then it's like, well, wait, was it a good purchase? Am I going to continue to spend money there? Are my friends continuing to spend money there? I grew up with three girls, and I learned something that started as a joke that my dad would say because he would be like, man, um, if I knew what you kids were buy and bought stock in it, then I would have made so much money. He's saying this 10 years, 20 years after the fact. But then I started to do like a mental regression analysis. So I came up with a theory. Um, Wherever pretty girls spend money, if it's new and if it's publicly traded, then 10 years from now, watch what happens to that stock.
Mm, that's a
Because
good point. I like that.
yeah, pretty girls do it, then other girls do it. If all the girls do it, then the guys want to help them do it. Then the parents have to do it. Then the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts, and then it just keeps going. It's like a tidal wave, and it just continues.
It certainly does as well too. And what else can we expect from you and expect from the economy and everything else in 2025?
We have a couple more books coming out for the babies and the people that are reading to the babies, more specifically. A couple of them are going to be about real estate. We have baby's first book of coding coming out. We're very excited. We have two new funds that are going to be buying property, that are going to be buying assets that appreciate when America becomes great again. So we're very excited and we look forward to answering any questions. Check us out on X or on YouTube. I think I'm the only Vijay Marolia out there. Vijay Marolia, Vijay Marolia on YouTube.
And what's your website?
Oh man, so Regal Point Capital Solutions. But I honestly think that if they just Google my name and then let their eyes and their interests take them, because we have private equity, we have the hedge fund side, we have the media side. So I don't want to push anyone where they're not interested. But if they Google my name, I promise you, you'll find something that's of interest to you.
All right. Well, certainly check that out with the multi-talented Vijay Marolia here on the Mike Wagner Show, talking about the important things, including the pork crisis and also what happens with the strikes. And make sure you get out there and buy, and also get out there and support Vijay. We'd love to have you on again, and sometime 2025, You're welcome to come back anytime. We'd love to have you talk about more. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase your books or check out your works?
Check out The Cash Square, thecashsquare.com. Google Vijay Marolia. Check me out on YouTube and on X. And thank you for having me, Mike. We'll do it again.
Sounds great. Just keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish all best. And make sure you stay tuned to 2025. You definitely have a great future, Vijay.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Honor.